Sega Dreamcast. The Sega Dreamcast remains one of the most legendary consoles ever created. Released in 1998 in Japan and 1999 worldwide, it was ahead of its time. Built-in modem for online play, a crisp VGA signal, innovative titles like Shenmue, Crazy Taxi, Jet Set Radio, and Phantasy Star Online. Gamers saw the Dreamcast as the rebirth of Sega's creativity, the console that was supposed to redeem the company after the Sega Saturn struggles. But Sega's internal problems overshadowed even the Dreamcast's brilliance. Mounting financial losses, the legacy of previous failed hardware, 32X, Sega CD, Saturn, and mistrust from retailers left Sega with an uphill battle. When Sony announced the PlayStation 2, with its DVD player, stronger hardware, and massive third-party support, the Dreamcast suddenly looked like a vulnerable challenger. Despite its passionate fanbase, Sega officially discontinued the Dreamcast in 2001, barely 2 years after its launch. Gamers were stunned. The console still had life left, and many felt it could have thrived with proper support. The Dreamcast's abandonment remains one of gaming's most painful what-if moments, a beloved machine cut down before reaching its full potential. PlayStation Vita. The PlayStation Vita is perhaps the modern poster child for a great console abandoned too soon. Released in 2011 to 2012, it was a technological marvel. An OLED display, dual analog sticks, near PS3 level visuals, and remote play with the PS4. Gamers loved the machine for its premium feel and impressive graphics. Sony, however, did not. First-party support dried up quickly. Sony shifted its attention entirely to the PlayStation 4, leaving the Vita to survive only through indie releases and Japanese support. Marketing virtually disappeared. Western developers abandoned the platform after Sony offered limited incentives and declining visibility. But the fanbase remained loyal. The Vita became a haven for niche genres, visual novels, JRPGs, indies, and it still maintains an active community today. Collectors cherish it, modders keep it alive. Gamers who owned one often describe it as one of their favorite handhelds ever. Yet for Sony, the Vita became something they stopped acknowledging entirely. By 2019, production had ended. For many players, the Vita wasn't just abandoned, it was forgotten by the very company that created it. Nintendo Wii U. The Nintendo Wii U, released in 2012, was confusing at launch, but beloved in hindsight. At first, many consumers thought it was merely an accessory for the Wii, rather than a new console. Marketing was muddled. Third-party support evaporated within months. But for those who owned the system, it was full of creative and unforgettable experiences. Super Mario, 3D World, Splatoon, Mario Kart 8, Pikmin 3, Super Smash Bros. For Wii U, Xenoblade Chronicles X, its first-party library, was incredible. The gamepad, though criticized by some, offered unique gameplay. Off-TV play, asymmetric multiplayer, and touchscreen interactions that later influenced the Nintendo Switch. Gamers who embraced the Wii U saw its potential. But Nintendo, after struggling to sell the machine and receiving confusing feedback from the market, began shifting resources toward their next device. By 2016, support had dwindled. The console was quietly discontinued in 2017 to make room for the Switch. The Wii U became beloved only after it was gone, a misunderstood system that earned a cult following, but was ultimately abandoned for Nintendo's next big experiment. Atari Jaguar. When Atari released the Jaguar in 1993, it promoted it aggressively as the world's first 64-bit console. The marketing was bold, the design was unusual, and its potential was real. Despite technical limitations and a complex architecture, the Jaguar attracted a passionate community that loved experimenting with its quirks. Games like Tempest, 2000, Alien vs. Predator, and Iron Soldier developed cult status. The system had charm, a dedicated following, and a sense of experimentation missing from more mainstream consoles. But Atari was no longer the industry titan it once was. Management instability, financial missteps, and a lack of long-term vision meant the Jaguar never received the support it needed. Third-party developers avoided it. First-party titles slowed dramatically. In less than 2 years, Atari had effectively abandoned the console, leaving gamers to create homebrew titles and support each other without official updates. The Jaguar's story is not one of a hated system. It's of a console abandoned by a company that didn't have the strength to fully support it. Its fans remain loyal even today. Sega Saturn. The Sega Saturn story is a tale of dual identity. In Japan, it became a cherished platform filled with beloved RPGs, 2D fighters, and creative exclusives. Gamers adored it for its depth, its library, and its focus on polished Japanese game design. But in the West, Sega abandoned it quickly. After a disastrous surprise launch in 1995, poor 3D performance compared to the PlayStation, and internal conflict between Sega of Japan and Sega of America, the Saturn struggled outside Japan. Western gamers who loved the system, drawn to titles like Panzer, Dragoon Saga, Nights into Dreams, and Shining Force 30, found themselves cut off as Sega shifted its resources to the Dreamcast. By 1998, US support ended abruptly. Developers received the now infamous message from Sega: "The Saturn is not our future." For many players, it felt like a betrayal. They loved the console, but Sega had already moved on. Despite its abandonment, the Saturn's fanbase continues to grow, and collectors treat its library as one of the richest in gaming history. TurboGrafx 16. The TurboGrafx 16, known as the PC Engine in Japan, was a huge success in its home country. Small, stylish, and packed with incredible titles. From Hudson Soft and NEC, it was beloved for its fast-paced arcade-style games, shooters, and vibrant visuals. But in North America, NEC mishandled the console's marketing and distribution. Gamers who owned the system loved it, especially for classics like Bonk's Adventure, Wise, Book 1 and 2, and a massive library of shooters. But NEC provided little long-term support. Third-party developers struggled with inconsistent communication. Advertising was weak. The system lacked the presence needed to compete with Nintendo and Sega. By the early 1990s, NEC had effectively abandoned the North American market, even though a loyal fan base remained. The TurboGrafx 16 became one of gaming's biggest hidden gem consoles, cherished by those who found it, but left to fade without the company's backing. Neo Geo Pocket. Color SNK created something special with the Neo Geo Pocket Color in 1999. It was affordable, well-designed, comfortable to hold, and featured incredible games. SNK vs. Capcom, Match of the Millennium, Metal Slug, First Mission, and Neo Turf Masters made the handheld a favorite among fighting game fans and collectors. Gamers loved the crisp screen, the micro-switch joystick, and the unique personality the handheld possessed. It had charm in a market dominated by Nintendo, but SNK was in financial crisis. The company entered bankruptcy in 2001 and ceased global operations. Even though the Neo Geo Pocket Color was adored by its fanbase, it was abandoned as SNK collapsed, production halted, software dried up, and support ended abruptly. Despite its short lifespan, the handheld remains a favorite among enthusiasts, another beloved console that died not because of failure, but because its parent company couldn't survive.